Then you need a patriotic ideology. Don't look at the army as a source of job. Nti mulimu. Yes, mulimu. Naye ate waliwo n'obuweereza. There is service to the country. That's the starting point. You serve the country, but in the process you earn a living. But remember that at one time, some of us who were serving the country were not being paid. We were working for serving the country only. Moyo gwa gwanga, moyo gwa nsi. But in your case, things are easier. You can have moyo gwa Uganda, but also be paid even for that, which we were not, which we didn't have the opportunity at that time. So that ideology of patriotism, moyo gwa Uganda. Then the continued learning about warfare, because that's how you get soldiers, generals, officers who fall behind. When you see the chaos which is going on in Africa, you wonder whether these, what they call soldiers, are trained. See what is going on in many parts of Africa, in West Africa, in Central Africa, in other parts of Africa. Yet there are people putting on uniforms saying that they are soldiers. But how can you have soldiers and generals who can't plan for their country? This is because they don't study, they just copy whatever the little misinformation the Europeans give them. We were able to build NRA, FRONASA, UPDF because we were studying. We were not taking what anybody was telling us. We would listen but also study. That's why we were able to build up a force from nothing. So therefore, those three things, discipline, patriotic ideology, and constant study, continuous study. That your future is bright, because you are now entering a very prestigious force, the UPDF, and if you know what to do, you'll go very far. You need discipline, okwefuga, to be able to control whatever bad tendencies that may want to come in you. Alcohol, mabibi, na mambwana, tamaa, omululu. If you avoid those, the future is very bright. First of all, I congratulate the two batches who have completed their course. These are the armor crews and then the platoon commanders. But before I pass you out, I need to add on what I said when we were there about the role of armor. The problem why many people fail to build armies is that they don't understand the role of these elements well. what you are dealing with here is the ancient concept of the shield and the arrow. Mnarudi nyuma kwenye vita vya zamani vya mkuki, mshale na ngao, the shield and the arrow. The shield is for protecting you, and the arrow is for hitting the other person. As technology developed, the arrow was replaced by the bullet. Risasi ilikuwa sasa mshale wa kisasa. Now, with the bullet, the wooden shield and the other shields, skin shields, could no longer stop the bullet. The bullet was a new form of arrow. That's why the idea of trenches came up. Trenches, andaki, miti, visugu, those became the shield now. And that's why for the First World War was a static war. The Germans and the British and those groups who were fighting for their own reasons would be in the trenches, not moving. This one tried to move, is mowed down by a machine gun. The other tried to move, is mowed down by a machine gun. So it became a static trench warfare. But toward the end of the First World War, the British introduced, had the concept of a mobile trench. The tank was the idea of a mobile trench. What if we make a metal and which can protect us from bullets? We move forward in that container. And when they were disguising them to take them to France, they said they were water tanks. That's where the name of the tank came from. This is not a tank. It's not a store of water, because the tank is about to store water. But this tank got the name from those primitive machines which the British fabricated and hid as water tanks to France. You can check on the internet when they were first used in one of those battles. So when they were moved, mobile hard surface containers were simulating the idea of trenches, a trench but which moves. Now, from that time, the concept of tanks developed. And by the time of the Second World War, the tank had become two things now. It had become, or three things. Because before, in war, some of the people used to move on horses. to move rapidly, they would use horses. And the horses were called cavalry. And even tanks initially were also called cavalry. So by the time of the Second World War, the tank had become three things. It had become a horse to move you forward, a trench to protect you from the arrows of the other people, but also the arrow, because it could now fire guns and machine guns. And that's why the tank ruled the battlefield in the Second World War, in the Korean War, in the Arab-Israeli War of 1956, and in the Arab-Israeli War of 1967. By that time, the tank was also joined by aircrafts. So those people who had both tanks and aircrafts performed well. But in the Arab-Israeli War of 1973, the tanks got a big problem in the Sinai, along the Suez Canal. The Egyptians started using ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles. And they bled the Israeli army. Israeli army had not got such a punishment since the beginning of their So the tank now had a challenge, guided anti-tank missiles. But still, there were solutions. That's why like in the Sinai Desert, where the Egyptians were firing those anti-tank guided missiles, they were vulnerable to long-range artillery, because you are in the desert with they were called fagots that time, fagot anti-tank missile. Then somebody fires a 155mm shell over you. So therefore, by combining artillery with the tank, the Israelis were somehow able to recover. So therefore, when you are, and as I told you, when we were there, I'm trying to kill this fly here. You know, when you kill something, you declare it. You say, my spare. You say, Orwango Rwanje. That means you have scored. So I have scored something here. The fly was trying to share my tea, and I had not invited it. So then, as we said when we were there, there's now a new packaging in the battlefield, which you should pay attention to. We talked about it there. We don't want to talk about it here. We don't know, among these civilians there may be some spies. We never know. So therefore, understand these instruments and how to package them correctly. So therefore, I congratulate you, the two batches, for finishing this course, because some of the people who started with you did not finish, they fell out. But I congratulate you, especially the ones of the platoon commanders, all of them finished. But the crews, I think 21 dropped out, according to what the commander told me. So I congratulate those who have managed to complete the course. The CDF has told you that I have guided them that while we have got many demands, the training centers must have everything. Because we want you to, when you come here, you see how things should be. You should see how a barracks should be. For instance, I really want to have this internal, that road coming from the quarter guard of the other college up to here. I want to have it tarmacked. I may have to work with the Minister of Works to do something about it. I had wanted to tarmac it together with the road to Zimbabwe from Rusarira, Kasambia, here Kavamba, Chakasa, all the way to Ntutsi to Zimbabwe. But I don't know when those will start. So I may have to do something separate for this internal road. Not up to Karama. Karama, you're not supposed to fight on tarmac. Ukulwana tulwanira mufufu. Fighting is always in dust, so that's not a problem. But here where people are staying and classrooms and so on, the internal roads should be tarmac. And then enough dormitories and those other teaching aids which Brigadier Chandia was talking about.